I'm excited to eat it. Let's go for it. Small bites. So how good can a meal kit delivery service that is roughly half the price of some of its major competitors actually be? Well, I spent a week with Dinerly trying to find out. Hey, how's it going? This is Owen, and in today's video, we're gonna talk about my week-long experience eating meals from Dinerly. And even though it's called Dinerly, you don't necessarily have to eat the meals for dinner. You could do breakfast, lunch, maybe even brunch if you're a brunch person. But we're gonna talk about the packaging involved with Dinerly, the meals that I ate, how easy they are to prepare, and who should think about getting Dinerly. If you find this video at all helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up and you subscribe to the channel. We've got a lot of meal kit related videos that you can watch. So I usually start off these videos talking about the packaging that these meal kit delivery services come with. Might seem like a weird thing to harp on, but considering that one of the value propositions of a meal kit delivery service is that you can eliminate a lot of food waste. I know me personally, I will sometimes find something in the back of the fridge that is way past its expiration date and is pretty gross. So if you're gonna cut down on food waste, you obviously wanna cut down on other waste as well. And Dinerly does a pretty solid job at that. So the first thing I noticed upon unboxing Dinerly is that the individual ingredients are not packaged in anything. All right, so we got our box from Dinerly. Let's open her up. We've got this like recycled denim sort of insulation, which I've seen on a couple of other meal kits. I think it's really nice, nice and easy to recycle. All the ingredients are just kind of in the box. There's no like bags with each recipe bagged by ingredient, which is kind of inconvenient. I'm gonna have to figure out where each thing goes as I'm cooking, but it does cut down on packaging, which is always good. Services like Blue Apron and Home Chef have their recipes bagged up, so you don't really have any confusion about which ingredient goes where. It's not a huge deal just to have all the ingredients kind of mingling together, because as you read the recipe card, you can just figure out what goes where. It just takes a little extra time, it's slightly inconvenient, but considering it cuts down on a lot of waste, I can see it being a good trade-off. Everything about the box itself and the packaging, the insulation, the ice packs are all very easy to recycle, so that's great. And one thing unique to Dinerly is that they don't actually have any physical recipe cards. If you order from Dinerly, you get a nice email that has all of the recipe cards in PDF form, so you can look at them on your phone or your tablet or your laptop. And I guess that is a really good opportunity to talk about the instructions themselves. I found that them being in a digital format wasn't too much of an inconvenience, although I definitely prefer having a physical recipe card. One of the main issues is, when you're cooking, there's a good chance your hands could get covered in dough or oil or meat or something like that, and you don't want to necessarily be unlocking your phone all the time. My phone fortunately has Face ID, but if you have an older phone, you might be getting some gross stuff on it when you're trying to cook, which isn't necessarily the most ideal thing in the world. I did find the recipe cards to be very easy to follow. I didn't have any issues in preparing these meals, but they didn't have pictures like some of the other ones do, which I personally really like. I'm more of a visual learner, and being able to match what I'm reading to something I see makes the whole process a bit easier. So overall, the digital recipe cards were not an issue, but maybe if you're not really a tech-savvy individual, then you might run into some issues with it. But overall, I prefer to have something physical, because unlocking your phone while you're cooking, not the best thing to do in the world. So overall, I'd say the digital recipe cards aren't a big deal. I very much respect them trying to do that because it does cut down on paper waste, but just as a user, I would prefer to have something physical. And another bonus to the digital recipe cards is that it cuts down on price. So far, Dinerly is tied with EveryPlate for the most affordable meal kit service that I've tested. You're looking at $5 per serving, depending on which of the meal plans you wind up going with. Normally, the 2 serving per meal option is the standard. You can go up to 4 if you're feeding a larger family,
but the price point of Dinerly is super low. Just for reference, something like Blue Apron, which I admittedly did love, is $12 per serving, so you're saving more than half with Dinerly. And one thing that really surprised me with Dinerly being so affordable is the variety of recipes they have on their weekly menu. You have about 40 different options to pick from every single week, which is up there with some other more high-end meal kit delivery services. Of these 40 recipes, you have quite a few different categories to pick from. You have vegetarian options, you have meat-based options, you have kid-friendly options, which are gonna be a bit easier to prepare and be better for picky eaters. You also have one-pot recipes to cut down on dishes, ready in under 30, and no knife recipes that require no slicing or chopping whatsoever. There's quite a bit of overlap in these categories. Oftentimes the one-pot meals are the same as the no knife recipes, but for a meal kit service this affordable, the amount of variety you have is pretty impressive. Also, in my testing, I did find it pretty easy to omit one item or replace it with something else to make the recipe vegan. For example, the plant-based burger that I had, all I had to do was leave the cheese off and I still had a pretty delicious burger. So that being an option as well is pretty great if you live more of a plant-based lifestyle. However, I don't think vegans will be super happy with the weekly options from Dinerly. Let's move over to the subject of how the food actually tasted. It doesn't really matter how affordable the meal kit delivery service is. If the food isn't good, then it really doesn't work. And I'm happy to report that all the meals I had from Dinerly were pretty solid. Obviously, I've had some better ones that I've gotten from other services. There's been some better meals that I've prepared myself from scratch. Overall, I was very pleased with the overall taste of the meals and the creativity. That is one thing that I appreciate about meal kit delivery services is that they will put together ingredients that I normally use in a more unique way. The cheeseburger salad that I had is not something I would normally prepare for myself, and it was pretty tasty. I mean, kind of hard to screw this up. It's just a burger salad. I love burgers, I love salads. I will say that the ingredients themselves aren't as fancy as something you'd get from Blue Apron. All of Blue Apron stuff is certified organic, and all the stuff from Dinerly, not so much. Me personally, I don't really care that much about all my ingredients for every meal being organic. Organic is nice, but it's not a requirement for me, and it not being organic is definitely a large part of why Dinerly is so affordable. So when it comes to taste, I don't see the average person having any issues with Dinerly, and they have enough variety of meals every week that you should be able to find stuff that you're gonna like. There is one additional thing I wanna mention about these Dinerly recipes is that they tend to require a bit more from your personal pantry than some other meal kits that I've tested. For example, one recipe might require you to have some butter in your fridge or on your countertop. Some might require you to use some vinegar. Some might require an egg or two. This isn't a huge deal because the vast majority of people, including myself, have that stuff on hand pretty much all the time. Just don't expect to have every single ingredient that you need for each recipe delivered in the box. Some other meal kits like Blue Apron, Home Chef, Sunbasket have every single thing you need aside from cooking oil, salt, and pepper. So it's just something to keep in mind, and it's another reason why Dinerly manages to be so affordable. And with all that being said, that leaves us with the question of who should ultimately think about subscribing to Dinerly. I think Dinerly is a fantastic option for anyone who maybe isn't super comfortable in the kitchen and wants some simpler to prepare yet delicious recipes. I had no issues in preparing these dishes. A lot of them were shockingly simple and they didn't really take me much time, and I was really happy to eat each and every one. Plus, with Dinerly being such an affordable option in the meal kit delivery service marketplace, I can see a lot of people who might be interested in the idea of one but don't want to commit to a more expensive one could try out Dinerly and see if they like it. And speaking of trying out Dinerly, pretty much every single meal kit delivery service has a very generous intro offer, and Dinerly is no exception. We should have something linked for you in the description if you want to have a nice intro offer. I think it's something like $1.50 per serving for the first week, which is just crazy affordable, probably cheaper than going to the grocery store. But what are your thoughts on Dinerly? Write us down below in the comment section. We'd love to get your thoughts. Also, what are you looking for in a meal kit delivery service? Are you most interested in a low price point or just having the fanciest meals? We'd love to know. If If you found this video at all helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up and you subscribe to the channel. We have a ton of videos about meal kits and about mattresses, and you don't want to miss it. But that's enough for me. This is Owen with CNET Home. We'll see you in the next one.